Xbox Game Pass gives out a tease for a big game coming into the service. There's a big Xbox sale that we will go over. The PlayStation 6, more information is starting to come out about it. The RDNA architecture. How long until the PS6 does come out? Is it going to end up being delayed with everything happening right now with the memory shortage? So there's some information that has come out on that. So we will talk about those things plus a few other things to go over today. But before we do, if you do enjoy daily gaming news, daily gaming content, Xbox news, all of that stuff, make sure to hit the subscribe and share and like. It really does help the channel. For now, let's get into it. So Xbox, as they do, they start to tease games that are coming over to Xbox Game Pass in the next couple of weeks, in the next month, or whatever it is. And they've put out another thing here from the famous Melissa McGamepass, which is teasing a big game coming here to Xbox Game Pass, or one that I think people would be pretty excited for. It says, that's weird way to spell delivered. And they put this picture out here. It says, hey team, we've got quite the release slate lineup for Xbox Game Pass so far. This is going to be a huge year. Oh, and speaking of upcoming releases, well, I shouldn't say too much, but if you're getting quite hungry for a fun adventure, all I can say is that something big is about to be deliveranced to Xbox Game Pass. That's all for now. And as always, keep this email 100% private, like super duper secret thank you. So I think you could take a pretty educated guess here that this is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. The first one's in the service. The second one is not there, but you would assume the developers and publishers working with Game Pass, they've already put a game in there before. They probably like how it is going with the amount of people checking it out, downloading it, and playing it. They're going to put the next one in this series. And this was a game that was massive last year, one of the best games of the year. So dropping into Game Pass here would be a great thing. Who knows when this will be, but I'm guessing tomorrow we'll get an announcement for this as one of the releases for the second slate of games in February and maybe into March as well, where they will be releasing this one, which is pretty cool. You go down here into the comments, and I think a lot of people are guessing that this is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, since they already dropped one already. Person here says that's the Czech way of spelling it, and obviously referring to that has to be Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 T Shirley. So I think a lot of people are guessing it. It does seem like that is the game that will be coming over here, and I think that's pretty big for another random game that is dropped into the service throughout this year. A nice one, a nice big one, and that is on top of whatever else we are going to get announced. As I've talked about Game Pass so far this year, we've had 2 months. We haven't got a big first party day one hitter yet from Xbox, which that will be coming in the next couple of months with Forza Horizon 6. Kiln will probably be dropping in relatively soon, potentially in April, and then everything else after that with like Gears and Halo and Fable. But we've gotten a great first 2 months of Game Pass from the third-party perspective. Day one games, as well as games that have been out for a while, but that look very cool to play. I've already played pretty much my entire gaming so far in 2026 has been from Game Pass game. Mio Memories in Orbit, I finished up, which I absolutely loved. I'm playing Pirate Yakuza right now, which is an awesome Yakuza game, a ton of fun, great ship combat. The story is always hilarious. So I'm going through those two, plus other things that I've dabbled in here on Game Pass. So it has really kept me going on top of back catalog, like Space Marine 2 is in Game Pass now that I'm going to be jumping into. So it has just been a phenomenal year so far, and we're going to get another big one here with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which I have not played yet, and I will eventually end up playing it now that it is in the service. Now, if Game Pass is not where you want to be, if you like just buying all of your games instead, at this point in gaming, I feel like waiting is for games to come out after their release, because they go on sale decently fast, and there's so much stuff out there to play that still holds up very well. You just pay a lot less if you wait a little bit. These sales always do a great job of filling that back catalog up. There are 50 plus games that have been reduced by 90 to 95% in the Xbox Lunar New Year sale. Always like to go over these because this is where I generally end up purchasing digital stuff to have it in my backlog, especially if they have backwards compatible games that I just want to add in there that I can play across all of the consoles and all of everywhere Xbox is. That's where I go in there. But we have a bunch of good stuff in this list. I would highly recommend going to check it out. If you haven't played Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, got that one in there. Mortal Kombat 11 plus the Injustice 2 Ultimate Bundle if you want some great fighting games to play through. $10 for all of that. You have a bunch of Lego games in there. Gotham Knights Deluxe. I mean, a game that wasn't received very well, but if you ever want to try it out, it's cheap. $9 you can get into that game, and I think it's even been cheaper before, so it may even get lower down than that at some point. Borderlands 3 Next Level Edition, Mad Max, which is a great game for $5. So lots of good stuff here in the Lunar New Year sale here for Xbox, 90 to 95% off with games. And yeah, there's going to be some backwards compatible stuff in there as well that you're going to be able to check out. Next generation. Now, we've talked about Xbox a lot. Project Magnus. I did a video on the weekend. Go and check it out. It looks like there's a good chance this Project Magnus, the next Xbox, whatever the name is going to be coming out in 2027. We've had AMD come out during their financial reports and say they're on track for the 2027 release of the next Xbox and working with Xbox to get that all ready to go. There was a video and rumors going around, and I talked about this in my video on Saturday, that the SoC, Project Magnus, the chip that's going to control everything and really help Xbox get to this next generation of the ecosystem, console games on every device, backwards compatibility, like all the cool stuff that we have been hearing about, is ready to go into production. So they're ready to start making this thing and then start putting it into the console and producing the console to eventually ship out to the customers. So it is ahead of schedule, it seems like, or it's at least on schedule at the very least, and things are looking good, which would point 2027 is realistic, meaning that we'll probably get an announcement for this console this year, or just at least more information about it. That's the Xbox side of things. I think I'm pretty excited for what they have. The PlayStation side of things with the PlayStation 6, the news out there isn't as clear as to exactly where they are and when they could potentially be releasing it. We've heard that they're potentially working on a handheld, and then they're working on the more powerful console. But then we've also been hearing that it may be delayed past 2027 because of the whole memory shortage, and PlayStation has that luxury. They can do that. If they sell 100 million PS5, they can just continue to feed the PlayStation 5 users more and more and more until the PlayStation 6 is ready. They know the PS6 is going to be expensive, so you may not have a huge transfer rate over from the PS5 to the PS6. I mean, you look at the PS4 going over to the PS5. A lot of people stayed on the PS4 for a very, very long time. I believe they just recently passed over like the 50% that have transferred over to the PS5. So they can wait years past 2027 if they want to. Could set them back though a bit in game development if developers are looking at what Xbox is offering than looking at the PS5 and just seeing the difference in the power and what they're going to be able to bring to their games. But we are seeing this now. There was a report that came out from Bloomberg, and it is really pointing towards PlayStation delaying the upcoming PlayStation 6 to about 2028 or 2029. It says here that Sony Group is now considering pushing back the debut of its next PlayStation console to 2028 or even 2029, according to people familiar with the company's thinking. That would be a major upset to a carefully orchestrated strategy to sustain user engagement between hardware generations. Close rival Nintendo, which contributed to the surplus demand in 2025 after its new Switch 2 console drove storage card purchases, is also contemplating raising the price of the device in 2026. And people familiar with his plan have said that Sony and Nintendo representatives didn't respond to requests for comment. So there's two things there, of course. Switch 2, we've talked about this. Price is going to go up. They're going to raise the price on the Nintendo Switch 2 sooner, probably, rather than later. As soon as all of their inventory runs out, I would think they're going to do that because of the price of the memory. But PlayStation here potentially delaying PS6 until 2028 or 2029. Now, they do say that it would be a major upset to the orchestrated strategy to sustain user engagement between the hardware generations. The thing I do see here, however, is that they have the PS5 Pro out. The PS5 is still selling well. And the next generation is going to be, I think, significantly more expensive, at least a couple of $100 more than where we were with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and S. Are they sitting back and looking at their predictions and their estimates for the launch of the next gen and thinking, yeah, we're going to have a smaller base of people buying this on day one, that we can lengthen out the generation of the PS5 and hopefully sell even more of those to kind of sustain that user engagement before we do launch it, so that they can take on what is going on here with the memory prices, and then potentially come out in 2028 or 2029 and have a slightly lower price than if they were to put it out in 2027 to try to get more people to pick that thing up on day one or within the launch window. That's maybe what they're looking at here when it comes to the memory shortages and the memory prices and stuff, but it's pretty wild here. It also just kind of hint towards the complete difference in the management of the development of these next gen consoles. Like, I wonder what the price of the next Xbox is going to be. They've already come out and said it's going to be expensive, but if they've been able to weather the storm better than PlayStation and getting better prices for the memory that they don't have to delay it, something interesting here to think about, because it does seem like Xbox is coming out in 2027. I think going all the way to 2029 is kind of wild if you are PlayStation, especially if the Xbox is out 2 years ahead of it. Pushing it to 2028 isn't too crazy of a thing, because we've already seen this happen with like the Xbox 360. It did come out a year before the PlayStation 3, so that wouldn't be too nuts. But game development to developers by 2029 may be looking at why they're being restricted so much, because PlayStation has delayed their console, something that they wouldn't be as happy about, especially if their games they're able to reach their vision better on the other platforms out there. So interesting stuff there. We'll see if that does end up happening. The other thing here is the RDNA architecture. We always get these rumors and speculation as to what the architecture is going to be. It looks like RDNA 5 GPU is going to be within the Xbox based off of the recent rumors that we have seen. Will the PlayStation 6 have a similar RDNA GPU? It does not sound like it, at least from these rumors. Now remember, PS5, we had people saying it was RDNA 3. Clearly was not RDNA 3. It wasn't even really full RDNA 2. And now we have claims here that it won't be full RDNA 5 for the PlayStation 6. Here is what this does say: that there is new information concerning internal hardware expectations of the next Sony PlayStation. It has service, and this is from the NeoGAF forum. Reliable tech leaker Kepler L2 noted that the PS5's internals are a hybrid of RDNA 1 and ray tracing, and that the PS6 isn't full RDNA 5 either. And then in another recent post claimed that the PlayStation 6 could have up to 30 gigabytes of GDDR7 memory. And they say here, the often discussed next-gen Sony handle could also feature up to 24 gigabytes of LPDDR5X memory. In that case, it would be on par with the recently released ROG Xbox Ally X. So two things there. Handheld coming from PlayStation, not full RDNA 5. Does it really matter? I don't really think so, to be completely honest. Games are going to probably run completely fine on the PS6. It's not going to have an effect on any sort of sales. And maybe they're looking at this as a way to cut some costs on the upcoming next gen PlayStation. I mean, the reality is I think Xbox is going to have the real enthusiast, more powerful box that's going to be able to do a lot more things than what PlayStation 6 is going to be able to do. Will that have an effect on sales? Probably not. But we're going to get a lot more information about this as we lead up to the PS6. This information may not be 100% correct, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if it's not a full RDNA 5 GPU architecture for PS6. So they will have their own stuff in there, their own slots, like they have the PSSR that they're going to be putting on it. So just some interesting stuff there to keep in mind. Now we have this, sticking on PlayStation games. We had a state of play last week, and the last game was the God of War 2.5D Metroidvania, which I think was very underwhelming for a lot of people. Don't know how excited they were about this game, but now it's getting even worse for it, as you're having gamers actually want refunds after purchasing the game itself, and they're complaining here because of co-op. It says here, I feel cheated and I want a refund. Fans lash out at the new PS5 God of War's unlockable local multiplayer mode. So this is in response to Sony Santa Monica's clarification to a fan saying, by every metric, this game looks like a co-op side scroller. The way the description is written on the store, the ads for it, the 2 players. I thought I'd be able to experience the story with my partner through playing together. I feel cheated. PlayStation, I want my refund. And then the PlayStation Store does list the game for 1 to 2 players, and the title does state it has a single player or 2-player couch co-op mode. And they say here, PSA God of War Sons of Sparta 2-player mode. After completing Sons of Sparta's main story, you will unlock a challenge mode that can be played solo or with local 2-player couch co-op. So they're complaining here that it's not something you get right off of the bat. And the reality is it's listed as 1 to 2 player because it is unlocked at the end of the game. So I can see the, I guess, the upset side for the fan when they're hoping to jump into this right away and play it as co-op, but they'd have to play through the whole game first and not get that. I don't know if this is Sony like doing anything wrong from a description perspective, because by putting the 1 to 2 players on there, they aren't lying. That is what it is once the game does end up getting completed and then you do unlock it. But so I don't know if they have any pull here from trying to get a refund. They may get it, but the reality is I think this is just kind of jumping in, buying it, then having some regret for buying it, not fully understanding exactly what the game was offering, more so than being cheated or being lied to here by the PlayStation Store or by the developers of this game. Because there's lots of games out there where there is stuff that gets unlocked after you do complete the game, a hard mode, a new game plus, all of that. So as long as they do end up putting that out there, the reality is, you know, now that it is after the game has been completed that you get the 2D, you get the co-op mode. Now, I don't think that's even the biggest issue of this game though whatsoever. I think the way that it was announced, the way it looks and stuff, a lot of people were kind of underwhelmed from it, but we'll see. It was hilarious, some of the comments that we did hear from David Jaffe, who's the original creator of God of War, on what he thought about this game. There's just so many other good Metroidvanias out there. I don't know if this is one that will interest a lot of people who like that genre of game. But I will end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video.
Bye.